So this is what your piece should look like. Try to straighten that for you, see? This is what it's going to look like. There you go. We've got our ribbing at the bottom. We've got our ribbing on the sides. And you should be at 8 inches from the bottom. I'll get my tape measure for you. And there we are. We are at 8 inches. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do next. This next part is really rather easy, but I'm going to walk you through it. Okay? So, hang on. Now, if you are at this point, remember you needed to have finished on a purl side. So the purl side of your work should be now facing you to do this part. If you're not on a purl side row, go ahead and work your way back over and flip it so that you're on the purl side row. You'll know you're on the purl side row because your yarn will be on your right. There's your working yarn coming in from the right, and these purl bumps are on the back, so you will know you're on the purl side row. All right, now here's what we're going to do. All right, you are going to bind off 14 stitches at the beginning of the next 2 rows. That's going to be for the shoulders. And then we're going to slip the remaining 28 stitches onto a stitch holder. And then we're going to be done with this piece for a minute. More than a minute, because you know you're going to work another one. All right. So here is our stitch holder. You're going to need your stitch holder for this. Okay? So first what we're going to do, we're going to bind off 14 stitches. Now you know we're working these first 3 stitches as a knit. So we're going to bind those off in knit. And here's how you bind off. We're going to knit the first one. We're going to knit the second one. Now those 2 are over here. We're going to take that first stitch and slip it over this stitch that's the closest to the end of the needle. So I'm going to put it over the top. Slide my needle down, catch that one, let go with the first one. Now we're back to 1 stitch on the needle. So you've now cast off 1 stitch, or bind off. Same thing. Now we have another knit stitch. We're going to knit it. We're going to repeat that process. Okay, now we're down to 1. You're going to take this stitch marker off. Now you have purls. So you have to bind off in the way in which they come to you. If they come to you as a knit stitch, you bind off knitwise. If they come to you as a purl stitch, now you have to bind off purlwise. So you're going to act like you're going to purl it, which means you need to bring this yarn back to the front. Now you're going to put your needle in there because you're going to act like you're going to purl it, and you are. You're going to purl that stitch. Okay, now you have the 2 on there, and you're going to do the same exact thing that you did a minute ago. You're going to slip this stitch over that one. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is your yarn stays in the front. Now that's 3 of them. Now we're going to do our 4th one. Purl it. Bind it off. Now number 5. Purl it. Bind it off. 6. 7. 8. 9. And you know, I'm not doing this terribly tight. It's all pretty loose. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. Now what? Because it says at the beginning of the next 2 rows, right? So what you do now is you continue to work this row to the end, which means you're going to purl all of those stitches. You're going to leave them on your needle, and then you're going to knit these 3 stitches down here, and then you're going to turn it. Okay? You have what looks like a little bit of a gap here, but it really isn't, because if you'll see when we start, kind of pull that up and over, when we start to purl, they come together and there's no problem. Okay, you guys, I'm going to purl across to the other end, and then I'm going to flip it, and I'll show you what to do when you turn your work. I am coming up to the end down here with my pearls. I'm going to leave this stitch marker on to remind myself that these are now knit stitches. Now I'm going to knit them. Now we turn the work. I got it stuck in there. I'll get it out in a second. And see, that is our bind off for our shoulder over there. So this is going to be your shoulder, this is going to be your neck, and then we're going to bind off for the second one. So this is the second bind off row. Okay. And again, we're going to do this as they come to us. And these first 3 are coming to us as knits. So we're going to knit. The next one is a knit. And we're going to bind that off. Now another one is a knit. I'm going to bind that off. Now I can remove that. Now we're going to, now we have more knits, so we just keep going. So that we've done 2, 3, 4, 7. Go ahead, I'm going to do my next 7, and then I will meet you back. So you want a total bind off of 14. So we have done our 14 stitches, but we still have one here, because that's the one that is carrying our yarn over to here. It's carrying the yarn over. So we need to continue to work the rest of these stitches just like we did a minute ago. Because we did a whole row when we did that a minute ago. On the first row, we continued on and finished the row. So now we need to finish this row. And now all of these stitches are going to be on the right needle. And when you get over here to the other end, you don't want to turn your work, okay? But you are going to cut your yarn. So you have 28 stitches remaining, okay? Now you're going to open up your stitch holder. I'm going to slide these down, and I'm going to leave my yarn attached until I finish this. I'm going to kind of hold it open like that, and I'm going to scoop that on. I find I lose less stitches doing this if I come in here this way and run around the needle up into the back of it like that and scoop it off. And then I hold it. See, I'm holding the needle in front of the stitches. I'm holding the holder in my hand here, and I'm sliding the stitches over to me. And I'm holding the stitches with my finger so they don't come off before I'm ready. You may need to scooch these down a little bit onto the holder. Now let's close that up. Now we have the rest of our stitches on the stitch holder. And now we can give yourself a pretty good tail. You don't want it to be a shorty. You need probably 6 or 8 inches. Now these are, you're off the needle, and these are live stitches. If any of these stitches should slip off, then it could possibly come all the way down because they're not bound off. However, we do have the shoulders bound. So there you go. Now you're going to go ahead and make another one of these. You're going to follow step 1 and step 2 and make a second piece all the way through to the bind off. Now I need to clarify. Where I left off, I was saying that you work your second piece until you get to the bind off parts. But do not bind off your second piece. Now, I had released a video which I did tell you to bind off the second one. This is not correct for going forward to part 3. So let me tell you what I mean. So what I want you to do is I want you to get yourself to the point where you have your 8 inches on your second piece. I do not want you to bind off on this piece until the third video, the third part. In part 3 we will bind off, but you do want to end on a purl row just like we did on your other piece. So your yarn should be on your right side, coming in from your right side. Do not cut your yarn, and your purl bumps should be showing. And that's where you're going to be at the end of part 2. Excuse you, Serbs. He's weighing in on this. Okay, you guys, I will see you for part 3. I hope that makes it clear. Y'all have a great day and have fun today.